Welcome into Bet, Win, Repeat. I'm your host, Hannah Mears. You can follow my social medias at Mears Hannah there on the bottom. That's on Instagram, that's on Twitter. But better yet, subscribe, follow Picks and Parlays on all of our platforms because we have a ton of new content coming out on a daily basis, whether that is our daily picks coming out or whether that's our content that we put out for our different shows. You don't want to miss any of that. Even better yet, you can get all of that content now on our app. Download the new Picks and Parlays app, available on all mobile device platforms. I've got some news for you. Tonight at midnight, a new episode of Beers with Mears is going to be coming out with Roman Bravo Young. If you don't know anything about wrestling, Roman Bravo Young is a household name. He's a two-time national champion for Penn State, three-time Big Ten champion, and now just announced that he had taken a grappling fight at the end of June. So grappling is a little bit different than wrestling, a lot of it different. It's sort of like mixing wrestling with MMA all in one. You can choke people out. So there are submissions. It's sort of just putting your opponent in painful positions and seeing who will tap out, essentially is what grappling is. So he has now taken a grappling fight against a more experienced fighter, so to say. Roman has a lot of that cool wrestling background. So we talk a lot about that, but he could be one day either a 2024 future Olympian for the USA, or he, after that, could be one of the next future stars of the UFC. So he's somebody you're definitely going to want to get to know. He's got a lot of cool things to talk about on how he's transitioning and just approaching a little bit of life after wrestling. But he also talks about hanging out at the casino a little bit, where he likes to put his money. So we've had a lot of fun with that. So our Picks and Parlays audience will absolutely eat this one up. You guys aren't going to want to miss Roman Bravo Young. Beers with Mears, available on YouTube and Spotify tonight at midnight. Also, don't forget that this is where we do all of our content now, Bet, Win, Repeat. But if you're interested in ever joining any contests, head over to the Picks and Parlays contest page. That's over on Facebook. Follow along with it, like the page. We come up with monthly contests. There's weekly contests as well. So you don't want to miss out on that. And of course, don't forget to head over to our website if you want any of our exclusive handicapping. Go to picksandparlays.net, use promo code MLB. It'll save you 20% off of the entire site. Something that everybody's going to be betting heavily on very shortly is the NHL. And also what we've been betting on more recently is MLB. So to talk a little bit about both of that, I'm going to bring in my guy, Terry. You can follow him on social media. He's that at Let's Go Wild there at the bottom of his lower third as well. So Terry, hello. It is so good to see you and catch up with you, of course. The first thing that I want to ask you about, where it comes to Major League Baseball, is you were saying you actually wanted to talk about my Pirates a little bit today. So I'm flattered that you want to talk about this. Please entice me on what's going on in your head when you're looking at the Pirates and San Francisco.
Yeah, so basically in this game, I'm focusing on the pitcher. Mitch Keller has been great for Pittsburgh pretty much all season long. He is coming off a rough start in his last game, but even despite that, he went his normal 6 innings. He did give up 6 earned runs, but he still hit his 8 strikeouts. That's where I'm going here. You can get him for 6.5 strikeouts, minus 112. He's got at least 8 strikeouts in 6 straight games. Even like I said, in that last game where he got hit badly, he was still able to hit 8 strikeouts. So getting 6.5 minus 115, you can take the 7.5 plus money as well. That's one of the players I'm targeting here today. And another reason, San Francisco strikes out the second most in Major League Baseball. So this is a perfect storm for Mitch Keller. I love his strikeout props today. Probably would lean with the Pirates as well, but I'm going to focus on Keller striking out the Giants.
Yeah, I definitely think that's the smart play, but the Pirates definitely feel more comfortable most of the time playing when he's behind, when he's on the mound, when they can play behind him and getting a good start, right? The Pirates need to not fall behind fast and give up all of these runs. We saw a few games ago, there was some struggling for sure, but Mitch Keller is the guy that they need to start today to really get them back on track. I know they had a little bit of success yesterday, but needs to piggyback off of that. Mitch Keller is so fun to watch on the mound. Like you said, his strikeout totals this year have been record breaking to say the least. So it's been really good. Always great to look at his strikeout totals going into any of the Pirate series that he's going to be starting, because a lot of the times he is getting underestimated a bit and hitting those overs often. So everybody check out Mitch Keller's strikeout totals for a really good player prop. And don't ever get scared. I always tell people, don't ever get scared to see a line that's maybe at minus something. Everyone wants to always go plus money right away. Add it to a parlay and you've got a great plus money parlay to start your week as well. So that's what you have on the Pirates. But then Minnesota and Houston, you said you also liked a few things in. So tell me where your head is at when you look at that game.
Pretty much the exact same as where I'm going here in this one, except Minnesota strikes out the most of any team in baseball. Hunter Brown, when I first saw him starting in his first game last year, I was interested to see his background, to kind of see maybe how I could back him in that game, or maybe fade him. And I noticed he struck out a lot of players in the minor league. So I looked at his strikeout prop. It was 4.5 in that game. I took it. It won. I cashed a few times with him at the end of last year. This year, he started off well. He did have a funk where he was getting hit quite a bit, not really striking guys out. His last 3 games, 8 strikeouts, 9 strikeouts, 10 strikeouts. Minnesota strikeouts the most of any team in baseball, especially on the road. They strike out even more on the road than at home. And you can get his strikeout prop for 7.5 at plus 120. I got it for. So that's another play that I'm taking here. I'm not really big on the strikeout props, but when I see a certain situation like these two that we have today, they're facing teams that strike out a lot. There's the pitchers are striking a lot of guys out. That's when I'm going to take them. So
Yeah, if there's ever games to look at those strikeout totals, it's where teams are striking out a lot for sure. And then you see these pitchers who either like Mitch Keller, who have proven they can do it, or like you said, a guy who had done it a lot in the minors and is bound to go over the small amount that they're giving him here in the majors as well. So those are Terry's best props for some MLB. So definitely check those out and see where you can get the best value on that. But something else Terry is an expert in is NHL, and the finals are set. You've got the Panthers and the Knights. Now, the Panthers are coming into this one after being in the second wild card spot. So nobody thought they'd be here, especially after having to face Boston early on. Vegas was one on their side. So a little bit more or less exciting, I should say, about getting here. But Vegas kind of has the recency bias on their side when it comes to playing in this type of series and being in the finals, having done this in their initiation season of 2017-18. And then you look at a team like the Panthers, who haven't been in this situation since 1996. So it's been a while. So just going off of those two like main headlines there of when they've been here last, who do you like better?
Well, this is a tough series because these two teams, I've been backing both of them in the conference finals. I was backing both of these teams pretty much every time they played, Florida and Vegas. So now they're facing off, and I'm just glad that we're getting a team that's never won before. So it's not a old team that we've seen win a bunch of championships in the past. It's new blood at Vegas and Florida. But I have to go with the Florida Panthers to win their first Stanley Cup here. They just have that it factor. They just have that. I can't really explain it, but when I watch them, it's just like they're just
It's
a team of
smart,
destiny.
right? It's
That's
a
what
team
people are saying.
the team that already beat the best. So now it's like we weren't even supposed to be here and we beat the best. Now we feel like we can beat you. I think the Panthers do have that as well. They have a great, I should say, a decently ranked power play as well. Not necessarily when it comes to the best in the playoffs, but the Golden Knights don't really give up a ton of penalties either. So a lot of this it's going to come down to a grind. I don't see a ton of these maybe being high scoring necessarily. Maybe not the first one to say, but if you're going to score, you're going to have to do it honestly, right? Considering they don't give up a lot of penalties.
Vegas has struggled with special teams because they faced Edmonton, who is the
Mm-hmm.
best power play in the league, and then Dallas, who probably has the second best power play in the playoffs. So Vegas's numbers with special teams, I'm not really focusing on special teams this series, but I do think we're going to get draws. I think there's going to be overtime, and I
Mm-hmm.
do think Florida is going to probably win. I think I'm going to go 6 or 7, though. I don't think this is going to be a quick series. I think it's going to
Yeah.
be a tough fought series. But there's 3 player props I have as well that I've been just cashing on, and I have to keep going with those. For Florida, Matthew Tkachuk.
Mhm.
When Florida's been winning these games, they've been doing it in overtime by Matthew Tkachuk. He had 3 game winners in the series against Carolina. Plus 145 for him to score. He has a goal in 3 of his last 4 games. So that's where I'd go with Florida. And for Vegas, I'm going to sound like a broken record. Jack Eichel assist, Jonathan Marchessault goal. Um, Marchessault scores, Eichel assists on it. Eichel assist is plus 105. Marchessault goal plus 175. So 3 plus money props. Kachuk goal, Eichel assist, Jonathan Marchessault goal. I've been
Yeah,
cashing in them throughout the playoffs. So
it's funny you
keep going.
said Jack Eichel. That would have been my best bet of the day, is what I was looking toward, because he leads right now in the playoffs for his team, 18.6 goals, 12 assists in those 17 playoff games. So anytime you're seeing that double-digit assist line throughout that many games, I would be betting on him too, especially having to come out hot in game 1, looking to your stars to help you create that offense. That would definitely be good. And obviously Tkachuk leading Florida. So those are the 2 top offensive guys we're looking at in this matchup. He leads Florida with 21 points, 9 goals, 12 assists through 16 playoff games as well. So I think if we're looking at these teams here, those are the top 2 guys to mention. So if you don't follow a ton of NHL, but you want to get in and bet on this game, those are your safer plays for sure. Those are the 2 guys. That's the big storylines, and that's what you should be looking forward to. So thank you, Terry, for sharing your knowledge with us. Everybody keep your eyes peeled, because Terry's always posting exclusive content as well over on our website at picksandparlays.net. So he'll be giving out his best plays. Sometimes he gives you long parlays as well that will cash. So keep your eyes peeled for that. That's over on picksandparlays.net. And if you use our promo code MLB, it'll save you 20% off of the entire site. Thanks so much, Terry, and good luck.
No problem. Have a good one.
Again, everyone, this is Bet, Win, Repeat live Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern here on Picks and Parlays. And don't forget, if you're just tuning in, Beers with Mirrors, a new episode airs tonight at midnight on YouTube and Spotify. So like, subscribe, ring that bell for notifications so you don't miss a single second of that. I've got Roman Bravo Young, who is a 2-time wrestling national champion from Penn State, 3-time Big Ten champion, now has a grappling match coming up at the end of June on UFC Fight Pass. And eventually, after trying to make the 2024 wrestling Olympic team for Team USA, will eventually ease into his transition into hopefully being in the ring for the UFC one day. So get to know him before he becomes an even bigger star in this world. Now, we've got some NBA news to be talking about as well. And I know everyone's anxious to start betting on what will be the finals. So to do that, we have Cam Ross to come in and talk all things NBA. Are you surprised that this is how this ended up? The Heat and the Nuggets, Cam. I think we have you muted.
I had me muted because the dog. I had me muted because the dogs were barking. Yeah, I am. I thought Boston was going to be able to be the 1 in 151, but apparently they're waiting on game 8 because they for sure weren't ready to go the other night. And then Jason Tatum rolling his ankle in the first minute. He still, that doesn't affect how everybody else played, but it was bad.
Yeah, when you need your star in that big moment, though, it definitely affects how you're going to play and also be shaken up about that for sure. But when they're going into this game, then, since no one really expected the Heat to be here, do you think their Nuggets aren't a team to let off the gas, but do you think there's a chance for the Heat to take this series at all? Or do you think this one's pretty much written out?
No, I don't think the Heat can win this series. I think when Giannis got hurt, it showed very much, and I think that also played a part into the Bucks firing their coach. The Bucks had no game plan without Giannis. No game plan at all without Giannis. And then the Heat were going to win that first game, regardless of if Giannis played, because the Heat were playing fantastic in game 1. They were hitting shots. They were defending. They were gonna go up 1-0, even if Giannis had played. But then Giannis went down. and the Heat just started rolling, and they started rolling, and they rolled through New York. New York wasn't ready for the Heat. It looked to me like New York was preparing for Milwaukee. They weren't ready for the Heat. Boston the same way, and then Boston figured it out, and then Boston just laid an egg real bad in Game 7. You know, some people say if Jokic wins, if the Nuggets win the title, Jokic immediately becomes top 5, top 3 center of all time. I think the Nuggets are perhaps on the verge of a dynasty. You know, starting a dynasty. They're young, they're deep, they're talented, and I don't think the Nuggets are going to take it lightly. You know, they didn't take the Lakers lightly. They didn't take the first round lightly. The Nuggets have been, for lack of a better word, just busting people's asses all year. They've been the best team in the league all year. They're the number one seed. I think the Heat might get one. You know, this is the second 8th seed in history to make it to the finals. First bubble team, which isn't really a big deal to me with the whole bubble team because the Heat were the 8th seed. But the last bubble team was in '99, was the Knicks, and they lost 4-1. They got one. I think they won Game 3 or Game 4. But I think the Heat could get one. But I think Denver is going to win this title.
Yeah, even when you're looking at player props, it seems like not really sure how everyone's going to come out and play the way that a lot of these are sitting. Listen, when it comes to Game 1, at least you've got to be in favor of the Nuggets, right? They've had a longer time to rest, longer time to prepare, longer time to watch film, see what Miami's tendencies are, especially when it comes down to a stretch. And on top of that, Jokic is sitting around his prop right now, 27.5 points. Would you go over this, or do you think the Heat's going to have a strong game plan to stop him?
Who's going to stop him?
Right.
Bam. No, Bam wasn't great in the Eastern Conference Finals, and Bam had stretches where he was just doing cardio. I do think Jokic is going to have his way. I would look more towards Jokic's totals, like his points, rebounds, assists. Not even just a prototypical, triple double.
Right.
But Jokic doesn't finish with, 30, 10, and 10. He finishes with 30, 18, and 14 or something just outlandish like that. Yeah. He's not a 10 and 10 guy.
And right now, I think a lot of these set high, but not that high in theory. If you think about it, around 50.5 for points, rebounds, and assists. If he could possibly have a 30-point game, I wouldn't be putting that beneath him. And then he's 20 more combination away. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Against like the Heat, he was able to do it against everybody else. So why not?
Everybody else.
Absolutely.
And, the Heat have 7 undrafted players or whatever. That doesn't matter anymore. They can hoop. They can play. Duncan Robinson, for some people who don't know, going into Game 7 was actually leading the Heat in fourth quarter points. Caleb Martin played out of his mind. Max Strus played good. Gabe Vincent played well, other than when he wasn't hurt. The Heat are hungry. The Heat have that "we're not supposed to be here" tag, and Jimmy Butler wants it bad. I will give him credit. He wants it bad. Jimmy had in Game 6, he was terrible. He was bad in a couple of other games when the Celtics came back. And that can't happen against Denver. Denver has too much. Denver has like 9 starters on their team, 8 starters on their team. They would act like the guys who would actually start. They have their starting 5, and then Denver's so big. Jamal Murray's 6'5" or 6'6", and he's their smallest starter. Denver's going to be larger.
Yeah, Denver, and it's not just being large. Their big guys can shoot, they can move, they're very involved in the offense on all parts of the floor. And when you've got a guy like Jokic as well that sort of has a chip on his shoulder, believes he should have been the league MVP, probably has a right at this point to be thinking so, to do that again. And when you have a team like the Nuggets favored by 8.5, they also have a chance. They come out fast, they come out hard, they're going to be ready and well rested. I think if the Heat let this game get out of hand just slightly in the beginning, it could be really ugly in Game 1. So how do you feel about that 8.5 for the spread?
8.5 is a lot for a finals game. But the Nuggets, they're undefeated at home. and they're undefeated at home in the playoffs. Excuse me. They didn't lose. They didn't struggle much during the season, but they're undefeated. But they're not winning by a point or 2 points. They're they're blowing people out. They're winning by 10, 12, 14, 18. Like they're winning, and their starters are just watching the last 7 and 8 minutes. 8's a lot, but I realistically think Denver can do it, can cover it. The Heat just played, and they had announced pregame they had a flight scheduled to go to Denver, so the Heat are out there. The Heat have been out there. Of course, the Nuggets are out there too, but I don't think the Nuggets are taking this lightly. I think the Nuggets are going to be ready to roll, ready to go, because again, they've never won a title. They've never even been there. And this is a big ship for something. This is a big ship for these guys.
I think the shock factor of what Jokic can do too might be a little bit for Miami at first. So game one, when you're looking at these higher numbers, not sure, I would say it's probably the game to bet on them. And then from there, go for it. Tim, are all people finally showing respect to the Denver Nuggets? Okay. I think that's been a little bit, but I am seeing that from Denver fans everywhere. If you weren't here for this and this, no, don't be here for this. But everyone is very aware of what this team can do and the hurting that they can put on the Miami Heat. Something else you and I had talked about last week was the 76ers and their coaching situation. And now with Nick Nurse, so curious about who is making this decision, why, and how this is going to affect everything. He and Joel Embiid have a little bit of a history, and Embiid has been very vocal to the media, to saying as many things as he wanted to about the way Nick Nurse coaches, calling him a whiner at times, the route of begging for free throws and calling out refs. When this guy is going to be your coach, and you had just won league MVP, so your personality, your ego, everything's there. Do you think this was a smart move? Like, is there something we're missing here?
Yeah. Nick Nurse wins. He's the coach of the year. His team, if we're talking about whining and crying, his team made Joel Embiid cry, ugly cry, ugly cry a couple years ago when Kawhi hit the shot. Nick's got a ring. Nick has won. Nick came in.
Recently won too when he was with the Raptors and Kawhi.
19, yeah. Some people say, oh, if Clay didn't get hurt, if KD didn't get hurt, they don't win. I think that's true, but they won. So I think Nick Nurse in Philadelphia can be a spark. I think he can help. It's going to be interesting to see who he brings with him. What else he has on the bench with him. It's also going to be interesting to see who's still there when the season starts. What if they're going to move pieces. But Embiid cries, Embiid whines, he throws his hands up, he wants all these calls, and hell, now if the star player and the coach are begging for the calls, you'll probably get them.
Right. It's almost like they're on the same page now. It's like you want that guy to be in your corner begging for you to get calls at this point, right? So maybe they're going to be more alike than what we're thinking. I just think, sometimes that background, when you see that stuff, you're wondering, oh, is that going to clash? Is that going to be a problem? But do you think if Nick Nurse had been there this year that they would have moved on?
No.
You still don't think this team could have gotten it done?
No, they were in their own way. I think they were in their own way, and I think Embiid was happy with the MVP. I think it seemed like a lot of the year, and even more so in the playoffs, Embiid's goal was to win the MVP this year, and he won it. And then there were several games Embiid was the fourth, maybe fifth best player on the floor. It seemed like he had packed it in. If we keep winning, we keep winning. But if not, I want to go home and look at my trophy.
I
don't.
That team's
their window is closing. Their window is closing, and they have to compete. Boston's going to make some type of move to get somebody in. It's very likely Jalen and Jason could be done playing together, because with both of them eligible for the Supermax, they'd be making close to $600 million together. So that team could be fixing to get busted up. But you move Jalen or you move Jason, that team is still loaded. I think they're going to look for a real point guard. They're going to be a problem. The Heat are so hungry; they're going to be right back.
Mm-hmm.
And then out west, the West belongs to the Nuggets, and that's just really how it is. But the young Kings are coming. Oklahoma City is young and talented, and they have a million draft picks. But
Yeah.
Philly needs to figure it out.
They've got to figure it out, and they've got to figure it out fast. But if you do, I think that's why they brought in a coach like Nick Nurse, who already knows how to win, because he maybe has the missing piece there to figure it out relatively quickly. Cam, I know you're over on our site always making picks. I always see if anyone turns on your notifications for tweets, for subscription notifications as well, you see that Cam Ross is making daily best bets as well. So what have you got on the slate for us? But then maybe the next day or two, things that we should be looking out for. Give us a sneak peek into your best betting.
I'm heavy baseball right now. I mean, because that's all that's going on. I will probably be in the Stanley Cup. I will be in the NBA Finals. But right now it's heavy baseball. We're quarter of the way in or so, and there's teams I'm fading. There's teams I'm riding, like the Baltimore Orioles. They have the best record. They have the most profit on the money line this year. I've been on the Orioles quite a bit, stuff like that. The Braves, even though they've lost to Oakland the last 2 days, I've been on them heavily. There's a lot going on right now, but I'm really excited for the Cup and the finals. I will be in those all throughout the series, regardless of how long they go.
It will be very exciting, especially because of the story that the Florida Panthers have been this year. I think everyone's just going to be tuned in to see what they can do. I know I'm pumped about that. Always love to see an underdog come in against a team like Vegas, who seems like they're going to be consistent from now on and being a Stanley Cup contender, right? Can't deny that.
Vegas, I'm not a crazy big hockey guy, but Vegas looks like an issue. But the biggest thing with Vegas to me is they punched their ticket to the final 6-0 the other night, and nobody talked about it because of the Celtics collapse. You didn't hear about it. Unless you were watching, you didn't hear about it. But Vegas has been close a couple of times. It could be their time.
Yeah, it's almost being like overshadowed, because it's almost like they're there and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. So nobody was talking about it. But watch out for a team like that knows what it takes to already be there. That's been one of the interesting things to follow, is a lot of their guys are being asked about it because they were there so not long ago at all. They were there back in the 2017-18 season when they just got put together. And so a lot of these guys were talking about, like, the first time you're there, it's sort of the shock factor, and no one expected us to be here. And now we've been here, done that kind of feeling. Like, watch out for a team like that. And now the Panthers are sort of in their similar spot to how that team was in 2017. They haven't been there yet. So it's going to be an interesting storyline to be cooking up for sure. Check out all of our premium picks over on picksandparlays.net. Use promo code MLB. Get yourself 20% off the entire site. Bet, Win, Repeat is live Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern. And don't forget to tune in to Beers with Mirrors tonight at midnight, live on YouTube and Spotify, with Roman Bravo Young, NCAA wrestling champion 2 times and 3-time Big Ten champion, who is now going to be transitioning into his freestyle career, trying to make the 2024 Olympic team, as well as into the UFC route as well. Thanks so much, Cam, again for joining us. Thanks everyone for tuning in with us. This has been Bet, Win, Repeat.